Another effective way to come back to yourself, sort of say, is by noticing the seeking and resisting. Now, you've heard me say this before, that seeking is resisting. So we just simply become aware of the seeking. We become aware of the resisting. You can think of seeking like a running. It's really this forward momentum, like a running to the next moment. The illusionary next moment, because there's only this moment. And you can think of resisting as this push. It's a sort of push. And if you are just aware of this subtle running, this subtle pushing, then this is really halfway there. That's the first step, which is not really a step. You're just simply being aware of something very subtle. It's not going to be even this dramatic running. It usually just kind of feels like an antsiness, a little bit of an impatience to get somewhere. It kind of just feels like things are kind of speeding up. A really good word would be to just notice this, almost like a hurrying, a rushing. You just look at our society, everyone's rushing to get somewhere. This is the seeking energy. So you just notice that subtle rushing, that subtle, I'm in a hurry, that subtle, I need to get to the next thing. You just simply notice that, because that's an activity. Seeking and resisting is an activity. So you just become aware of that activity. Now, if this resisting could say something, it would say something like, I don't like this. Like whatever's happening. I don't really like this. Some sort of situation in your life. I don't really like this. I don't want this. And if this seeking energy could say something, it's something like, I want this. But it's always kind of pointing to the next moment. I want this. So you could also notice that it may be subtle. What's helpful is to pick up on the expression of the resistance and the seeking energy in the form of the physical body. The resistance looks a lot like tension in the body. Could be clenching of the fists, or clenching of the jaw, rounding of the shoulders. Just this tension being held in the body. And the seeking also is expressed in the body. And it might look like kind of a fidgetiness, a jitteriness, this antsiness, shaking the legs, tapping the hand against the thighs, just something that's kind of like, I just need to kind of get going. You start seeing, now that I'm describing the expression of this seeking and resistance, they're looking very similar. Looking very similar, that these signs of this kind of fidgeting, this antsiness, it kind of looks a little like anxiousness, this anxiety of the next thing, this hurrying, I gotta get somewhere. I'm in a rush, standing in line, and you just can't stand in line. You're kind of anxious about what's going to happen later. You might be missing out on the next thing. I need to kind of get going. And the resistance to what is looks very similar. A lot of this tension, gripping the clothes or clenching the fists, biting the jaw, this kind of tension in the face, tension in the rest of the body. So this is an activity that you're then aware of. You can just say, just have a look for this activity, because it's there. And you use that seeking, that resisting, as a way to come back to yourself, sort of say. And you come back to yourself by just being aware of that activity and just being aware of the activity. And it will feel like you are resting. It'll feel like you are relaxing, that you are aware of that antsiness, and now you aren't actually expressing that. So there's a jittery of the legs or the arms, or you might feel like whatever the task that you're doing, you're kind of rushing. You're washing the dishes, but you're rushing. You're brushing your teeth, but you're rushing. You're in the shower, but you're rushing. Everything is this kind of, this rushing through it. So you just start notice how you're just rushing. Like as if it's treating this moment as an obstacle that you need to overcome this moment to get to the next moment. It always makes it feel like this right here is a hurdle that you just need to, get over to get to what you really want. So it's a subtle devaluing of this moment. And it's valuing a future moment more than this. But like I said, it's very illusionary because there is no next moment. There's just this. If that's how we're living, then we're never really valuing this moment. And this moment is life. There's no valuing this moment. So you just notice that rushing, that hurrying. And as soon as you start noticing the rushing, you start noticing that actually that rushing just slows down. You just start noticing that actually just the awareness of that activity just starts slowing down. And when that activity is slowing down, it will feel as if you are relaxing more. It will almost feel like energetically that energy is withdrawn from this kind of future projection. It'll feel like you've withdrawn your energy from that projection, and that energy is coming back. You're withdrawing that energy. And you start feeling more of this aliveness. You start relaxing into this moment. It's also, we could say that, for another word here to explain, is you also start feeling very grounded, anchored into this moment. Because this future moment is just a thought. And this thought, when we're identified with the thought, it feels very, what's the word here? Ungrounded, I guess you could say. It's just you're living in thought. So it kind of feels like you let go of that thought of the next thing, and now you're grounded in right here, right now, this present moment. When you're not used to it at first, it will feel very different because you're so accustomed, you're so used to that habitual go, go, go. And you see our culture is the go, go, go. Faster, faster. Always trying to get somewhere, trying to arrive. And it's so counterintuitive because actually when you slow down, you're just aware of that rushing, there's a slowing down, there's a relaxing, just grounding yourself here. And then it's like, then it feels like you have arrived. You've arrived here now. You've arrived here in this present moment. So it's very counterintuitive. It's different because this activity of hurrying, it's such a habit that then you might actually experience some of the thoughts that come as you start becoming aware and slowing down. Then you might experience like a second bout of thoughts. Yeah, but you got this and this to do. You can't just relax. I mean, you can't just slow down. I mean, it's nice to enjoy the shower and slow down, but you got to get going. Hurry up. Make the dinner faster because you got to take so-and-so to gymnastics or hockey. Everything is this rushing. But there's never really the attention on this moment. It's like the attention is exclusively on a thought of the next moment. This is that seeking. It's constantly on this projection of the next thing. It's as if you're not really experiencing this moment for what it is. But as you relax, which is not a doing, but it's a withdrawing of that effort of hurrying to go somewhere. When you're not in a rush, you could say you're just relaxing more. So the experience is more relaxing, whatever you're doing. There's making dinner, but you're relaxing while making dinner. You're relaxing while showering. You're relaxing while brushing your teeth. It's funny because we can turn these actually very relaxing activities like folding clothes and doing laundry, gardening, and we tend to make it so stressful. And we're making it so stressful because we are projecting into this imaginary future of the next thing. So we're physically here now, but it's like we're mentally somewhere else. So we experience this tension because physically we're here now, but then mentally we're saying, I want to be somewhere else. So we're feeling this kind of stretch, this tension, that the attention isn't 100% in this moment. It's like it's somewhere else. That's why people say things like, Sorry, I wasn't really present. Like, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, I wasn't really here. And the person you're talking to, what do you mean you're not here? Physically, I'm talking to someone that's here. But they're saying, well, I wasn't here mentally. Mentally, I was somewhere else. What they're saying is I was dreaming. Sorry, can you repeat that? I was dreaming. So we just simply notice that hurrying, that rushing, and just the noticing, which is effortless. It takes no effort to notice it. Just being aware of that effort to be somewhere else. Just that awareness of the rushing, the hurrying. Well, then you start noticing that actually there's a slowing down. There's a slowing down, and just allow that slowing down to happen, because that's where it starts to feel very different. Not used to being that slow. And then there's thoughts that come that say, well, this is too slow. I mean, I got a to-do list. I got to try and get as many things done today as I can. It's kind of like you're not used to that pace of living. It's a little bit of a slower pace, you could say. But then you start sinking into this moment, you could say, relaxing into this moment. And you start experiencing more of this restfulness, this sense of relief, this okayness. Everything's okay. A sense of well-being. And once you start noticing just a little of that, you just allow yourself to relax a little bit more. Now, it might be helpful, actually, by just letting out a breath like that. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's just the noticing of the activity at the start, hurrying, rushing. A little bit of a breath out. And you'll notice that activity slows down. Let out another breath when it feels like you want to relax deeper. And then you start feeling that okayness, that sense of well-being, that restfulness. And then another breath out. And you notice that with every breath out, it's as if you sink deeper into this moment. There's more and more relaxation. And then what felt like just a very neutral okayness is now it's more than okay to be here. It's really good. It's very surprising. It's like it catches you off guard. It catches you off guard because actually when you're relaxing, you're not holding up your guard. So it's very surprising. You're like, it's pretty good here. If I didn't know any better, I'd say I like it. I'm enjoying this moment. There's nothing wrong. So you see, you were actually looking for this right here, but you were looking for it somewhere else. And it's not possible to find it anywhere else because there's only here. You were trying to feel like this later. It's not possible. You start experiencing the happiness that is here. What you were seeking later is actually here, now. You thought this happiness is at a destination that you will sometime arrive at. But it's right here, right now. You don't have to work for it. There's no effort. It's this causeless happiness. That's why you're not used to it. It catches you by surprise. Like, what? I'm just feeling good for no reason. You just kind of, a couple deep, I don't know what those are, I guess like sighs that, then you just relax. Just wait. And you're just sinking deeper, deeper. And you're just noticing this relaxation where the attention isn't going to one thing specifically. Every time there's that breath out, you just notice that the attention is more relaxed. When you're fully relaxed like that, you could just be sitting doing nothing and just be experiencing the most profound happiness. It's just perfect happiness. Just causeless happiness for no reason. You just don't even want to do anything. Because this total relaxation is then you relaxing into rest. And any form of doing would be some sort of activity. So you're just at total rest and completely content. So content that you don't want anything. You don't even want to do anything. At that point, it almost feels like breathing is too much. Obviously, I'm joking, but it feels that way. That's the only activity that's really kind of going on. There's just so much happiness. It's such a fullness, this contentment. You're absolutely content. There's nothing missing. And it's all right here. And it's absolutely free. So that is noticing the seeking. Now, noticing, not to make the video any longer, but let's talk about it. Noticing the resisting is the same thing. So something's happening in your day, and there's something that's just happening that maybe you notice the narration. I don't like this. I don't want this. So that would be noticing that resistance to what is. Something's happening and there's this kind of, you're just noticing this kind of tension in the body. So, okay, well, noticing the tension in the body is the first step, right? Just like noticing that hurrying, that, what do we call it? That rushing, that was the first step. First step is just noticing it, right? And it's a non-doing. You just notice it. You're just aware of it. So you're aware of the tension in the body. Okay, step one. Now that you're aware of the tension in the body, you just start noticing actually how that tension is releasing on its own by you just being aware of it. By being aware that the hands are clenched, it's not like they continue to be clenched like that. So it's actually, there's this effortless change. It's not like you say, well, there's the hands that are clenched, now I need to unclench them. No, just by noticing, well, there's a noticing of the tension in the jaw. And now the jaw relaxes. You're noticing that there's a tension in maybe the eyebrows or the forehead. And that relaxes. And just like with the other example of that rushing, that hurrying, sometimes it helps with that same, that deep sigh, that deep breath, that out, that exhale. That there's just that relaxing breath out. And then there's just maybe the shoulders drawing back more. Maybe you're holding your belly tight. Maybe you just let the shoulders drop. So you start seeing how there's actually tension in the body being held unnecessarily. That there is this subtle tension, but why is there that tension? That tension is just the expression of the resistance to this moment. And this is unnecessary resistance to the moment. So step one is just being aware of that tension in the body. And then there's just a relaxing of that tension. And the relaxing is, again, like this slowing down of the activity. So in the other case of the hurrying, it's a slowing down of that activity. And in this case, it's the same sort of thing. It's this, feels like a relaxing of tension. It feels a lot like a letting go. Even with that sigh, it's letting go of the tension. That doesn't need to be, I want to add this in here, it doesn't need to be a forceful sigh. Sometimes notice this, that when people do it, and it's a relaxing sigh. The sigh brings you into a deeper relaxation. It can't be done like that, where it's coming with force and there's kind of like this kind of anger behind it. It can't come from that place of force. It's this, and it just fades. It's not like a sharp force of, I want this to go away. Why am I so tense? Well, that just is more tension. So it's a relaxing sigh that then is gradual and fading, and it ends on a down. You're riding it down into a deeper level of relaxation. Every sigh should take you deeper into relaxation. If it's coming from that place of force, you'll actually notice it has the opposite effect. Now you're kind of, you're tense, and it's like you're now ready to fight. It puts you into like a fight or flight mode. The resistance to the moment is already the fight or flight mode. It's the relaxation that then you're relaxing that fight or flight. That sigh is what then takes you from that sympathetic response to the parasympathetic response. It's this tension to relaxation. So just like the other example, again, it kind of catches you off guard because that's what was being held, was your guard to the moment. When you're constantly in resistance to this moment, you treat this moment like it's your enemy. You're fighting the moment. So then you're guarded. But it's this it's this relaxing of the guard. And now you're unguarded. So that's where it's a good saying, where it catches you off guard. You're off guard because you didn't have your guard up. It's like, wow, it's actually okay. I mean, there's nothing to fight with here. See, the seeking is like the flight. You're like running to something. And the resisting is the fighting. So this is why the seeking is resisting. They're one and the same. It's this fight or flight mode. So now that you aren't fighting, there's no guard. And then you kind of, it's okay here. Sinking in a little deeper. Body softening. No, it's really okay. It's better than okay. Like, it's really good. And mind may come in, but like, what's so good? I mean, nothing's really happening. It can't really understand. And that's like that second bout of thought that then wants you to, no, it's not safe here. Don't drop your guard. Right? And again, when those thoughts just come, just letting go of that, because those thoughts are the resistance to this moment. You just sink below thought. And then you're just experiencing this moment without the narration. You're not listening to the mind commentate on this moment. There's just this direct experiencing of this moment. Start noticing that it's much more quiet. It's softer. There's a softness to this moment. You're not so hard because you're not fighting with it. There's a softness. There's an openness. There's this deep relaxation, and it feels a lot like you're just melting into this moment. And same thing happens. As there's more relaxation, the attention, so it just widens and it's getting softer and softer and softer. Attention is opening and widening. It's letting go of any limitations where it's fixed on one thing over another. There's no selectivity. There's no exclusion happening. The attention is just, and then you are just experiencing the totality of this moment. The awareness of this moment is all-inclusive. You're aware of it all. It's an undifferentiated attention. That the awareness is not differentiating anything. So you see, what you're fighting with was, you're fighting the happiness that is here. You're treating the happiness as the enemy. In one way, you're resisting the happiness, which is the resisting. And with the seeking, it's like you're running away from the happiness. Either way, the happiness is here. And when you're experiencing the happiness, check to see if you're separate from it. Hopefully this helps. I'll see you in the next one.